Hey, sister. Welcome to Stay Salty and Bright, the podcast where kingdom women like yourself are reclaiming your faith, stepping into radical freedom, and building the abundant life God designed for your lifestyle and for your business. I'm your host, Ana Maria Jinda, and this is the space where God and growth align. I'm so glad you're here. Let's stay salty and bright together. Hello, my darlings. Welcome to another amazing week here on the Stay Salty and Bright podcast. Today, we are talking about transitions because I had an epiphany this week. Yes, you know it. I had an epiphany this week as I started my very first, I shouldn't say very first because last year I did a 25-day life challenge, but it was very scheduled. It was very aligned and organized. And it's funny enough, I've decided to go live on my Instagram channel every day for minimum 30 days for the foreseeable future in my brain. Because why not go live and talk to people? And today, the plan was we're just going live and recording the podcast while we're going live, talking about transitions, talking about what is the beauty of sitting in front of a camera and walking people through building your whole experience in front of everyone. I am very new at building a brand, and I want to talk to you guys on the podcast today about how to build a transition from an anchored place, how to build a transition from a place that is sustainable to you and also from a place that is sustainable for your environment as well. Because a lot of my listeners, I know we have a lot of moms here building big brands and big visions in front of their kids. I see you, I know you, I am you. So I get it. How is it when we build a brand in front of our kids? Honestly, it's amazing in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. When I see Patrick seeing me build something from scratch, I know that I'm speaking excitement and life into him because it's really cool seeing mom doing all of these things. But also, I'm showing him how not to freak out when you fail, how not to take it too personally, how not to base your progress on emotion and mood, because that is something that if you get to master your emotions and master your thoughts, you will not let yourself be not in charge of your life. Because the biggest secret that we have as entrepreneurs, as Christian entrepreneurs, is we get to have a sound mind, and the thing that we have direct control over is ourselves. When we get to anchor that self control fully in, we're not only locked in, we're also very in charge of ourselves. And that's a gift to a female entrepreneur. When we are fully in charge of ourselves, from moving away from the world that has taught us so often and so much how to be obedient to the world, how to live off of everyone else's expectations, how to be peaceful and have manners and not bother anyone else's peace. When we become fully in charge of our own self-control and fully in charge of ourselves, we break free from the expectations. We break free from everything and anything that has been on our shoulders for far too long. We break the chain of people pleasing. So let me talk to you about the transition from being in a job into owning my own business and building a brand fully online in front of everyone, because that, my darling, is the biggest gift you can ever give yourself. And I gave that to myself. Is it scary? Of course it is. Is it crazy? Honestly, I have days when I'm like, what am I even doing? There are days, and I can tell you for a fact, there are days when I go on Indeed.com and be like, okay, we're just getting a job and that's that. But then I find myself in the middle of scrolling and I stop myself. I'm like, Anna, what are you doing? Why ever would you want to go get a job when you can create jobs for others? Why ever would you go back when God has opened a whole new path for you? Why ever would you not say yes to the big dream when you know yourself that it's the biggest vision that you could have ever held in your awareness and in your presence, and know that God placed it on your shoulders because He knows that He can work it into this reality through you? So, when we're thinking of that, let me walk you through a transition. December 2025, I said goodbye to a very comfortable job as a big label brand. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into details in this episode. But when I said goodbye to that, I had two things going on. One, I said, I can coach anyone, anywhere, on anything without batting an eye. You can come to me. You can tell me all of your problems, all of your stresses, all of your concerns, and I will simplify your way out of it. That's who I am. That's what I do. Second, I was completely terrified of saying goodbye to the job that I manifested 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, that I manifested into my reality. The yes to the position only that people only dream of. Little Anna from Romania was in Canada and said yes to going for her big job dream and made it happen. And I was in it and I got comfortable in it. And I realized the more comfortable I am in it, the more I need to leave. And when that landed for me, I can tell you, it was the heaviest, hardest thing that I've ever put myself through, to say goodbye to a dream job that I personally thought I would retire from. I thought, this is the place, we're retiring from this. This is magnificent, the community, the trainings, the impact, everything. And I said goodbye to it. December 26th of 2025. Said goodbye to it, and I said, okay, God has placed this vision for me full time. That's my only thing. I'm going all in. I'm making it happen. And I went fully in, hands on, everything into my own business. Becoming Abundant has had the seed planted all the way back in 2024. 2023, I'm like, when did I get baptized? Yes, 2023, April of 2023, I had the name come to me after being cradle healing and working in new age stuff and all of that. For the longest time, I knew I had to step back from all of that and start brand new. I started Becoming Abundant, but I started it with a backup job. The job was already there. The thing, the comfort, the safety net was already there. So when God said, you need to awaken 1,000,000 kingdom women to their potential, you cannot do it as a side hustle. It has to be fully in. It has to be your only focus. It has to be your biggest bonfire energy inside of you. And for a year, I am not joking, for a whole year, I tried to go fully in on the business and fully in on the job, and I almost burned myself out. Because when you don't hear the calling, you're going to say yes to everything because you think you have to be on both sides, walking the fence, balancing on the fence. But the problem is, when we balance on the fence belongs to the other side. So I had to say no. I had to say goodbye. And I had to say yes to the thing that lit the fire inside of me, but also terrified me enormously. Because not only did I have to learn how to not have a job, a stable, comfortable job, I also needed to unlearn how to do a job and to completely learn how to do a business. Now, mind you, I have helped my husband build his business to where he's at right now. I have helped clients, many hundreds of clients, build their own businesses. So I know the strategy behind it. I've implemented strategy behind it. But, and this is something I teach all of my women entrepreneurs that work with me, I teach them the becoming of the woman that has the business. So I had to take myself through the whole process myself. When I said yes to becoming abundant as a business, I didn't know the impact that I would be able to create when I focus with it as a brand as well. Because when you go for a transition from just having an idea of a business and a comfortable job as a safety net into building a full-on present brand online as your business and as your umbrella, my friend, it blew my mind the uncomfortable feeling that I felt every time I would wake up and be like, okay, where are we getting clients today? Who are we talking to today? What are the topics that we're sharing? How do you start having more followers on Instagram when for the longest time you've been stuck at 1,100 people? That was it. That was the number that I started the year at. How do I engage and start creating momentum into this brand? It wasn't a secret. I had to unlearn from my nervous system how to do the business as a job. And when you do a business as a job, and I know you're going to hear this and resonate with it if you're a female entrepreneur, if you're a female founder that has built the business like a man, and you've heard me saying this many times before, when you build a business like a man, you will feel like you're getting success, but something's off, something's missing, something is wrong, something doesn't align. So when you build a business like a man, you build a business as if it were your job, not your passion, not your dream, not your calling. It's a different energy that goes behind it. And when a different energy goes behind a business, it's not sustainable for women. I'm sorry to say that. And I'm here to tell you that the lie that it's all in the strategy has been sold to so many for the longest time. But it's just that, it's a lie. Because even Tony Robbins, my darlings, even Tony Robbins says, you have 20% strategy, 20% mechanics, and everything else, the 80%, is what you believe. 80% is what you believe. So if you've been building your business as a job, as a man, on strategy alone, you're burning yourself out because 80% of you is screaming, what is going on? How am I going to make this happen? 80% of you doesn't believe that you're capable enough to do it. 80% of you will feel like things are falling in through the cracks. 80% of you will not believe you can make it happen if you yourself don't do the work of building that identity. That's why I became an identity coach. That's why I'm right now, I've named myself, I've self-proclaimed myself as an identity expert, but maybe just like on day one of my Instagram lives, maybe I'm a transitions expert. So what would it feel like for you to start focusing on building the woman behind the brand? Who is she? Here, grab a notebook or a piece of paper or your notes in your phone and write these prompts down. Who is the woman that has the successful business? What are her hobbies? What are her habits? What are some of her non-negotiables? What is a day in the life of this woman look like? What does this woman speak to herself? And then the most important and the most overlooked question: who does this woman have in her network? Because when you're building a brand, you're not building it yourself, and you're not building it for yourself. So the thing that I also had to learn after 4.5 months, so I started January. I was back in Calgary because we were in Florida in January. I was back in Calgary in middle of April and close to end of April, 4.5 months, almost 5 months, when I said, okay, I'm done the unlearning. Who do I get to become now as I open myself up to being the business owner, the becoming abundant woman, the woman behind the brand? Who do I get to become? And I can tell you for a fact, in the first 3-4 weeks, my wardrobe changed, the way I put makeup on changed, the way I eat changed, the way I train my body changed, the way I speak to myself changed. But with all of those, because we are Christian women here, and you'll know what I mean about building something God's way, when I started inviting more of the identity that can hold all of this and become the woman behind the brand, the spiritual warfare came, sister. Mm, 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 mm. It came like a rapid fire. And I started doubting, can I even do this? I started doubting, oh my God, I let go of a job that was consistent and paid me money to build something that I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. Where am I going to get clients? God provides. Where am I going to get followers for the Instagram? God provides. Where am I going to get network and resources? God provides. I can tell you for a fact, every time I doubted, I put a brake on God's provision. The second, and I speak this into you right now, into your ears and into your heart and into your mind. The second I paused the doubt, God's provision showed up. The second I said, hey, Anna, you're doubting again. Why are we fearing this? God can work a miracle right now. And he did. Because the thing that we forget as Christian entrepreneurs is we believe we need to control everything, when in fact, the actions behind the faith are only to create space for the miracle, not to perform the miracle. Let me say that again. The actions behind the faith are to create space for the miracle that God provides, not for us to create the miracle. And that in itself is the biggest blessing, that when you let it fully land with you, it's going to change everything in your business, because it changed for me. I am truly grateful for the anger and the sadness and the fears that I've had so far building this brand in front of everyone, because they have taught me where I've been leaving cracked doors open for the enemy to spew lies into my head. So, this is me telling you, when you're in the middle of a transition, allow yourself to fail so that you can learn the lesson. Don't hold on to not fail, because you're never going to land better than when you finally learn the lesson. You're going to land on your feet, you're going to hit the ground running, and you're going to make it happen, because you're not making it alone. You're making it with God. And that's the best business partner you could ever ask for. So, my loves, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Just saying, this is a great place to be. And until next week, my loves, remember, we here only stay salty and bright. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.